Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. We have Ruth King from Atlanta with us today. Now, Ruth is an entrepreneur and has owned businesses throughout her life for the last 30 plus years. What she focuses on now is to work with small business owners and provide them the processes and tools to make them successful. She's also written 5 books, 2 of which became bestsellers: The Courage to be Profitable and Profit or Wealth. So welcome, Ruth.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. So in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I never give up. That's probably the best thing to really describe me. I've known I wanted to have my own business from the time I was a little kid. We sold flowers as kids. I never had a lemonade stand. We did a whole lot of other things, but I've always wanted my own business. And when I was 24, I started my first, and I still have it today. It's Business Ventures. And over the way, I've, 7 businesses. Some have done phenomenally well. One of which crashed and burned, the worst is you can crash and burn. But you learn from all of them, and you just never give up. One of the things that my dad always told me was, when bad things happen or tough things happen, is you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you keep going. And that was probably really important to me for the startup of my 6th business, where we had a $1.5 million contract, 800,000 of investment riding on that. We had already started working on it, and I got a phone call one day that basically said, we're canceling the project. And I had also have about $500,000 of my own money in there. So, it was a lot of money. So when that phone call came, I went outside and cried. Just did. And I heard my father's little voice: pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. And we ended up taking the last $25,000 that I had on my credit cards and actually started the first internet broadcasting network in 2001. And it's still going today. If you look at HVAC Channel, if you look at Profitability Revolution, we started with 13 subscribers. And it just grows. So you just don't give up. You just flat out don't give up. And I know sometimes it's really hard for some of you who are listening to go, do I really want to take a chance? If it's where your passion is and where your heart is, do it. It's not going to be easy, but it's worth it.
Why do you think a lot of people who go down a path like this tend to give up? I think they're expecting too much too soon. And when they don't see it happening, they just can't keep up with the journey and don't have the patience to see it through.
And also, they haven't done their homework beforehand. All right. Think about it this way. Somebody comes, and I'm going to do something very simplistic here. And please, I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. But let's assume that you make the greatest jelly in the world. And all of your friends say, you should really sell the jelly. And you go, yeah, maybe I should sell the jelly. And you just don't put the time, effort, and energy in to find out, okay, who's my client? How do I sell the jelly? What are the rules and regulations that we have with respect to labeling and packaging and all that sort of fun stuff? And you go in full speed ahead, and then all of a sudden it's not easy. And the question that I would ask my friends who say, well, you should sell your jelly. Fine, will you invest? And if they won't invest, then you know that they're just trying to, say something good to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's much better if you ask the question, well, will you invest? And they'll either say yes or no. And if they say yes, they're serious.
All right. So, you mentioned 30 plus years, right? So you've seen your share of ups and downs. Can you talk us through, your lowest points and at any given point in time where you were probably on the verge of giving up but didn't?
Yeah, when I got that phone call that said that project was canceled, that was pretty low. And I knew that if I got through that and we kept going and, listened to my father's little voice in the back of my head, that we would eventually make it. And that's really the startup of my first book, which was The Ugly Truth About Small Business. And I went through that and survived. I found 50 other business owners willing to share so that people don't make the mistakes that we make. And I learned a lot from that book in terms of what not to do too, in addition to what I was doing. But that was probably the really lowest point. And I knew once I got through that, I could get through anything. Now, from a physical standpoint, I started running marathon, just running. And when I was 42, I ran my first marathon 3 weeks before my 44th birthday. And then I ran Boston. And that was the toughest thing physically I'd ever done, because I'm not sitting the ground till noon and run, but that's what it was back then. So I knew if I could do something physically, I knew something business-wise. I mean, nothing at this point, I look at it and go, okay, I can do it. But you have to go through the tough times. You have to go through them and say, okay, I can do this. One of the stories in the Ugly Truth About Small Business was a guy who had been through the first hurricane, and I forget which one it was, in one of the Caribbean islands. And he said, that was really tough. When the second one came, I knew exactly what to do. So the first one teaches you. Second time it happens, it's easier.
So tell us about your businesses. You mentioned seven businesses, right? So you've got your fingers in a lot of pies. So tell us about those.
Yeah, I have a lot of fingers in a lot of different pies. The first one, which is Business Ventures, is my training and consulting business, and I've had that since 1981. It went underground when we started doing computer animation studio in the 80s. Okay, remember, this is 1980s. This is not 2021. And the equipment that we bought for $250,000 within a year, you could buy for $60,000. Goodbye. Can't support the debt. And then we did one that was actually kind of fun. And we built t-shirts. My background's actually chemical engineering. And so we did t-shirts for the student chapters of the different organizations. One was like chemical engineering is baffling, and baffles in reactors. And we did civil engineers give a damn, electrical engineers own with the brave. But it was something that we did just so that we could go away and design. We had great vacations, did our designing, and sold t-shirts. And we did that for a couple of years and decided that was enough. The one I talked about, if you look at HVAC Channel and Profitability Revolution, those are two businesses that started as a result of that and are still going today. And one is for plumbing, electrical, heating, and air contractors. And Profitability Revolution is about 250 now, maybe a little bit more than 250 videos. So if you're up all night staring at the ceiling, what am I going to do? Log on. There's probably the answer there, because we've been through a lot of it. We've got those, and then books and all sorts of fun things that I've done over the years. It's been a lot of fun. I wouldn't give it up.
So when you look back at what you've done, so let me ask you this: have you ever held a job?
Yes, and I hated it. I got fired. Ugh.
So tell us about the time you did a job.
It was I've had a job twice. When I came out of grad school, I worked for a engineering firm for about 2 years, and I absolutely hated it and said, I'm leaving, I'm going out. I went back to school, got my MBA, and started Business Ventures. And then when the computer company failed, I said, I got to go get a job. And I did, but it also allowed me to get into the HVAC industry. And about 18 months. And I had it, and we had what was called Black Friday. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I went out, I started doing really good work for heating and air contractors, and you just build it up. The other thing, there was probably 5 women in the industry back in the late 80s. So not only did I have who do you know or what do you know, but who are you? You're a woman. So we had all those sort of fun things that we got to deal with. But you prove yourself, you do really good work. They make money, and they make a lot of money. Word gets around, and the rest is kind of history. It's not something you're going to do in 5 minutes. And if you think that you can wake up tomorrow and go, I'm going to be an instant millionaire, not going to happen. If you're in it for the money, not going to happen. I love what I do. I mean, I don't consider this a job. I just love what I do. I love the light bulbs.
Awesome.
I mean, one thing that grad school told me is you're really, really good in numbers, which I am. So I do a lot of teaching of P&Ls, balance sheets, and pricing, stuff like that. And when they get profitable and get and stay there, it's really cool.
So your two businesses that I want to talk about, one is business ventures, the other is profitability revolution paradigm. Tell us
Okay.
about those.
Business ventures is where I do consulting. It's where all my books are. It's where all my training classes come out of. And it's been around since January of 1981. So however many years is that? 40 years now. And that's where the consulting comes from. That's where I go around the country. I've been in every state except for North Dakota. And somebody's going to send me to Fargo. I just don't want it to be in January. It would not be fun to be there in January. So, but anyway, that's, my 5 books, The Courage to Be Profitable and Profit or Wealth, both hit #1 so as bestsellers, and they're written in English. They're not written in accounting babble so that you can easily read them. They're about this thick. You can read them and do it, or you can read them and not do it and not implement. The choice is yours. Profitability Revolution is what we put together with all sorts of videos, a lot of training things, a lot of interviews with people who are experts in marketing, experts in sales, experts in trade shows, experts in operations, different things that are going on in different businesses. But it truly was put together so that we could have a breadth of information that somebody can actually use if they're staring at the ceiling at night. And we give it away to everybody who buys a book. So you can invest $10 on Amazon for Courage to Be Profitable. Send me an email. I'll send you the password. I mean, we really do give it away right now.
Mm-hmm. So, with your consulting business, now that you've done it for several years, I'm sure you've built a great network and all that. So how do you, between all these 7 or 8 businesses, how do you keep yourself focused?
I love what I do. All right. I mean, I don't know there's any other way to look at it. I work really hard. I also play really hard. So it's, when COVID hit, it was really hard because everything had to go online pretty much because I couldn't travel. But as soon as everything opened by June or, started opening, I was on an airplane again. I loved traveling during that time. But we were in Iceland in August for a week, took a week off. Again, we had to be vaccinated, COVID test in, COVID test out. But who cares? I mean, I got to go do what I wanted to do. My daughter and I take a mother-daughter vacation every year, and we look forward to it. I run. It cleans my head out. I work out. It cleans my head out. So there's very specific work time, and there's very specific non-work time, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I get up every morning around 5. It's my most creative time of day. So if I'm writing another book, that's when I do my writing. I go work out, and then I start my day. I rarely miss a day of working out.
So you're very disciplined in managing your time.
Yep, absolutely. You have to be. You can't do what I do if you're not.
Absolutely. Great. So for people that are looking to learn from you or engage you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Best way to do it is my website, which is ruthking.info. It has links to everything that I do there. And you can find out about me, you can find out about books, you can find out about classes and that type of thing. But ruthking.info is the best way to get a hold of me.
And what kind of a team do you have supporting you in your several businesses?
I have Brenda, who's been my assistant for 32 years.
Wow.
We've been together longer than most people have been married, for starters. So she's there. And then I have a marketing assistant. Her name is Catherine, and she does a lot of the marketing and outbound calling and things along those lines. And then as far as my podcasts go, I have a team that is part-time that does the podcasts and recordings and all the sort of, fun things like that. And the marketing for that. So that's my personal team. I have had over the years, as we were going through a lot of the profitability revolution, putting things up, probably 8 to 10 to 12 people at any one time, just doing production and things along those lines. So, I mean, I've had a team. I outsource what I need.
Okay, awesome. And in terms of what's coming up or what's down the pike for you, can you talk us through some of your future projects?
A lot of what I'm doing now is going towards virtual reality. I'm taking the classes that I've done and we're starting to put them on virtual reality. One of the things that my daughter challenged me during COVID was to make financials fun, because that's not her thing. She's much more creative than I am, in terms of she does theater and movies and project manages and stuff like that. And so I created Ronan the Duck. And he is a owner of Bathtub Inc., which manufactures services and has recurring revenue of soap and bubble bath. And so a lot of that is, it's funny, it really is funny. And it's meant to be humorous and it's meant to do that. So we're starting to put that in virtual reality. It's on Kindle. I have not written it in book form, but it's on audio and it is in electronic form on Kindle, if you want to see what Ronin is all about, from there. But that's one of the next projects. And then I'm really looking at finding ways that I can help small businesses get and stay profitable. There is a segment of the population who could care less. Many of those are lifestyle businesses because all they care about is having enough cash to support their lifestyle, which is basically making sure your pricing is right and having recurring revenue. They don't care about P&L and balance sheet. The rest of the people do. So, we're doing programs for all the different segments, and that's coming up. And I'm sure one of my clients is going to say, "Hey, why don't you want to work on this with me?" It always happens, which is fun.
And how do your clients go about finding you?
Right now, it is mainly through referral. In the beginning, it wasn't. I do a lot of speaking. I have written a e-zine. Now I'm going back to the days when it was called e-zine, since June of 1999, called Contractor Sense. Business Sense has been around since about 2004, 2005. So, I write every week, and it's content that is appropriate for small business. It's not sales. It's, not selling products. Here's a little blurb on the bottom if they want it, but it's literally things that can help them with 5 minutes reading. My podcast has been, we're up to about episode number 200 and something. So it's been around for a little over 4 years. And that also is like 18 minutes, go from point A to point B, you can get one thought and that's it. But most of it's speaking, now, it's like referrals. A lot of it is through referrals, which is the way I like it. I don't necessarily, I don't mean it from a bragging standpoint, but most of my clients who have done well have sent me other clients.
So tell me more about your speaking engagements and how do you go about finding them and landing them?
Again, it's mainly through referral right now. I don't go out, I don't have a speakers bureau or anything else that I go through. People have heard me speak at national organizations and they want me to come speak, or they've heard me at regional, or sometimes like Atlanta will have organizations here and then you do really well here and then you can do a regional, then a national speech. I've done speeches in Cabo, I've done speeches in Canada, have not done one in Europe yet, looking to go to Europe. I've got a big following in London as a result of my books. There was a British organization called Fupping who named 2 of my books, The Courage to Be Profitable and The Ugly Truth About Cash, as 2 of the 37 books all startups should read, with Stephen Covey and Napoleon Hill and, nice guys to be associated with.
Absolutely. So your speaking engagements, are they more of a business generator for you, or are they actually paid gigs?
Both.
Okay.
I do both. Even when they're paid, I get a lot of people who come up and say, "Will you work with me?" Or I've scared the crap out of them. A lot of times it's just, I am very direct, as you can probably tell by our conversation. And, I started the one last Tuesday off with what had happened to me in the airport. One of my former clients who I hadn't seen in about 20 years. I saw him at some of the shows and stuff like that. And he said, "Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great." Well, he calls me on the phone and says, in tears, and says, "My manager has embezzled $220,000 from me."
Wow.
I left him in good shape 20 years ago. You have to follow the process. If you don't follow the process, this happens. And it's not only the $220,000. If you think about it, if he nets 10%, and I haven't seen his financials in a really long time, that's $2.2 million he has to generate to pay back the $220,000. That is a lot of revenue. That is a lot of revenue. Don't do stupid stuff. Pay attention to your cash and your bank statement and your financials, and that, have less of a chance of that happening.
So, you mentioned your initial debacle where you lost about $500,000 or so. How long did it take for you to dig yourself out of the hole?
About a year.
And that patience and perseverance paid off.
Of course. Now, was it fun? No. Was it stressful? Yes. But in your head, you're going to make it. And you do what it takes. You talk to the people you need to talk to, and you get it done, and you go for it. And you just, I had a colleague of mine who lost 80% of her business in one day and had to lay off, I think, 62 people in one day. Literally, the Fed stopped the program, and that was where most of her business was. It took her 10 years to come out of it. Now, she has since sold the business and done, obviously recouped all of it. But can you imagine? I mean, it didn't take me 10 years, but it took her 10 years. Imagine day by day by day for 10 years.
Right.
The light at the end of the tunnel gets brighter and brighter and brighter, but it's this big at the beginning. So you got to just do it. You just have to do it.
Your podcast, what's it called, and where can people find it?
It's called Contractor Sense, CENTS. And it's mainly for contractors, but there's, if you're not a contractor and you sell a product or something like that, you still would find it valuable. And it's on Apple and, all of the places that you can do it. I should ask that question of my marketing people, because they're the ones who put it every place. But it's there. It's on Podbean. It's on, I don't know. There's like a list of that many platforms that it's on.
Awesome. And where do people find your books?
They're all on Amazon. You can get them through my website, ruthking.info. It will take you to the Amazon links. And that's probably the best place. Or if they want to call me and get an autographed copy, it's 770-729-8000.
Awesome. Well, Ruth, it's pretty inspiring to learn about your story and what you've done and where you've been and how you've dug yourself out, and you continue to do what you truly enjoy the most. That's pretty awesome. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story and what you're doing. But before I let you go, one takeaway for the listeners, anything you want to share?
Never, ever give up. If you truly believe in what you're doing, find a way out of the hole.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.